Good morning, dear learners. I am Dr. Mallikarjun Karajgi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, English Warrior. Learn, Unlearn, and Relearn. Dear learners, today we are going to learn simple sentences, the kinds of sentences which are affirmative sentence and negative sentences. There are four kinds of simple sentences: declarative sentence, interrogative sentence, imperative sentence, and exclamative sentence, active sentences, and passive sentences, and Concord. There are three kinds of Concord. Concord means agreement between the two grammatical units. There are three kinds of Concord: grammatical Concord, notional Concord, and Concord of proximity. So, dear learners, I request you all to watch this video till end. And if you like this video, I request you do subscribe, like, and share among your students, friends, and learners of English. So, dear learners, let's move towards simple sentence. So, first of all, we will try to understand the definition of simple sentence. A simple sentence is a single, independent, and finite clause. I repeat, dear learners, what is simple sentence? Simple sentence is a single sentence or a single clause which is independent. It means it does not depend on other clause, and it is a finite clause. In short, in other words, a simple sentence is a single, independent, and finite clause. The sentences we considered in the earlier video of clause elements and clause types are by and large simple sentences. The link of my all the earlier videos I have given you in the description box below. So I request you all to watch my earlier videos to get your concepts clear on modern English grammar. Henceforth, we shall be studying non-kernel sentences such as interrogative, negative, passives, etc., derived from the kernel sentence. The process is called transformation, and the sentence so derived is called a transform. A revolutionary study was carried out on these lines by Noam Chomsky, one of the greatest linguists of the 20th century. The grammar he has evolved is referred to as transformational generative grammar. In short, it is called TG grammar, transformational generative grammar. The first kind of simple sentence is affirmative and negative sentence. Let us study the following sentences as basic and non-basic sentences. Affirmative sentences are basic, while negative sentences are non-basic. For example, he is sleeping. It is affirmative sentence. On the other hand, the second example is he isn't sleeping. It is negative sentence. Isn't. To transform an affirmative sentence into a negative one, the particle not or its contracted form ent is attached to the auxiliary verb. I repeat, my dear learners, to transform an affirmative sentence into a negative sentence, there is an use of not particle or its contracted form, short form of ent, which is attached to the auxiliary verb. In case there is no auxiliary verb, if there is no auxiliary verb, then we resort to the process called do support. We take the help of do support, support of do, that is using do, does, or did as dummy auxiliary. Do and does for present tense, and did is used for past tense. For example, he studies well. Here there is the main verb, but while making it negative sentence, while transforming it into a negative sentence, we use do support. So this sentence is transformed into negative. For example, he doesn't study well. It is the sentence which is transformed into affirmative to negative by using do support. They slept in the hall. It is affirmative sentence, and the verb slept is in past tense, so we use did. There is an use of did. They didn't sleep in the hall. It is negative sentence. Dear learners, there are four types of negative sentences: with explicit negation, with affixal negation, with implicit negation, with non-verbal negation. For example, with explicit negation, he is not happy. there is a use of not. With affixal negation, for example, he is unhappy, there is an use of un, which indicates negative sense. With implicit negation, he is denied admission, it is implied, it looks positive, but there is a negation, denied. With non-verbal negation, for example, no one knows it, he hardly knows it, he has little knowledge. Here in these examples, no one, hardly, and little, they are used as non-verbal negation. A sentence with explicit negation is the most common and obvious type of negation. Dear learners, please remember that explicit negation is the most common and obvious type of negation, where the negation is both semantically and structurally achieved by using not after the auxiliary verb, and it is the most common. A sentence with affixal negation is structurally positive but semantically negative. Meaning is negative. The prefixes such as un, in, im, non, this, etc. convey the negative meaning. A sentence with implicit negation contains a word which looks structurally positive but is semantically negative in itself. This is also called lexical negation. For example, reject, oppose, prohibit, refuse, etc. A sentence with non-verbal negation contains a word other than a verb which conveys negation. Example, nothing, no one, none, nobody, nowhere, few, little, seldom, rarely, etc. Apart from all the above mentioned types, there is one more type of sentence in which positive meaning is implied in a structurally negative sentence. For example, it's not that he is unhappy. Here, dear learners, if you read this sentence carefully, you will find there are two negations. One is the use of not, and there is the negation by using un. So there are two negations. And dear learners, we must remember that if there are two negations, two negatives in the sentence, and they cancel each other out, and hence the meaning conveyed is positive. Negative, negative, the result is positive meaning. Now, dear learners, we will move towards the kinds of simple sentences: declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamative sentences. As we have already discussed, there are four major kinds of simple sentences, and these four simple sentences have formal categories. Number one, a declarative sentence is generally one with a statement in which the subject is followed by the verb. For example, father will go to Mumbai next week. This is a statement, subject plus verb. It is a general statement, so it is called as declarative sentence. Number second, an interrogative sentence. An interrogative sentence is generally one with a question which satisfies any of the following criteria. A, an auxiliary verb preceding the subject. For example, yes no type question. Number one, will father go to Mumbai next week? It is a yes no type. Yes, father will go to Mumbai next week. No, father will not go to Mumbai next week. A question beginning with a WH word, WH question. For example, when will father go to Mumbai? Formally a statement, but in rising intonation. It looks like a statement, but there is a rising intonation. For example, father will go to Mumbai. It looks a statement structurally, but when we pronounce it in rising intonation, a statement becomes a question. In addition to yes no type and WH questions, there are alternative questions requiring a reply which relates to the choice indicated by or. Example, would you like to have tea or coffee? Here it requires a reply. There are three minor types of questions. Number one, tag question, exclamatory question, rhetorical question. The dinner is ready, isn't it? It is a tag question. The doctor hasn't come. Has he? Question tag. Exclamatory question. Hasn't she grown beautiful? Rhetorical questions. For example, is life a bed of roses? What difference does it make? The third type of simple sentence is an imperative sentence. An imperative sentence is generally with a command or a request, having no grammatical subject and usually beginning with the main verb itself. Dear learners, please remember that an imperative sentence generally with a command or a request, having no grammatical subject. There is no subject and usually it begins with the main verb itself. For example, speak to me in the evening. Speak. Here there is no subject and the sentence begins with the main verb speak. Imperative sentences have the following uses or meaning. These are some of the examples which is suggested by the imperative sentence. For example, number one, command, invitation, warning, request, persuasion, greetings. For example, command, sit down, invitation, come for a cup of coffee or tea. Warning, mind your language. Request, pass the salt please. Persuasion, help me. Greetings, have a nice day. Dear learners, if you look at all these examples begin with the main verb. Sit, come, mind, pass, help, have. There is no subject and all these sentences have been used for command, invitation, warning, request, persuasion, and greeting. The fourth type of simple sentence is an exclamative sentence. An exclamative sentence is one with an exclamation introduced by a phrase beginning with what or how without any inversion of the subject or the verb. There is no inversion. For example, what a fine movie it is! Exclamatory mark at the end and the sentence begins with what? How beautiful the child is! Exclamatory mark at the end and the sentence begins with how. Dear learners, third kind of simple sentence is active and passive sentences. There are active sentences and passive sentences. The active sentences are called basic, but the passive sentences are called non-basic. For example, they speak English all over the world. This is active. They speak. The second example is the example of passive voice. For example, English is spoken all over the world by them. The transformation process may be diagrammatically represented thus: subject, noun phrase, they, which is agentive, verb phrase, active, speak, object, English, which is noun phrase second. And this is the active voice, active sentence. How it is transformed into passive sentence? English, the object becomes the subject in passive voice. So it is English, subject, noun phrase second. It is affected. Here it is affected. It is spoken, verb phrase passive, because there is the use of verb plus third form of the main verb. And it is connected by the connector or the preposition by. They becomes them and it has become an agent. So it has now adverbial by young people. Dear learners, now we will move towards the last part of this lecture, that is Concord. Concord or agreement is a way of showing correlation between the two grammatical units. Dear learners, please remember, what is Concord? What is meant by Concord? What is the definition of Concord? Concord is nothing but an agreement, correlation. It shows relation between the two grammatical units. For example, there are three types of Concord. Dear learners, there are three types of Concord: grammatical Concord, notional Concord, and the Concord of proximity. Number one, we will see one by one. The first concord is grammatical concord. This concord occurs when the element formally agree with each other in terms of number, person, gender, case, etc. For example, a third person singular subject takes a singular verb with dash es or dash es as its suffix in the present tense. For example, a cat catches a rat or rats. In the second example, in the first example, a cat, the subject is singular, so it takes singular verb, cat is. In the second example, cats catch a rat or rats. Cats, the subject is plural, so there is a use of plural verb, cat. So this is called SV concord, subject to verb concord. A plural subject in any person takes a plural verb in the present tense. Dear learners, please note, please remember that a plural subject in any person, first person, second person, or third person, takes a plural verb in the present tense. An NP used as complement agrees in number with its corresponding subject and object. NP used as complement agrees in number with its corresponding subject and object. For example, this is a book. In this first example, this subject is singular, this object. These are books, these plural, so it becomes books. I thought her a queen. Her is singular, so it is a queen, singular. I thought them queens. Them is plural, so it is queens, not queen. So there is subject or object correlation. The second type of concord is notional concord. It occurs when the verb agrees with the singular or plural ideas of the subject, irrespective of its grammatical marker. For example, 10 miles is not a long distance. 10 miles is. The audience are not interested in new wave films. So it is notional concord. Concord of proximity, the third type of concord is concord of proximity. Occurs when the verb agrees with the number of a nearby noun rather than its real subject. I repeat, concord of proximity is, when does it occur? It occurs when the verb agrees with the number of a nearby noun rather than its real subject. For example, 1 in 10 take drugs. No one except his relatives support him. So far as usage is concerned, there is uncertainty hanging over concord. Traditional grammar relies on grammatical concord, while usage favors notional concord. Usage is particularly divided over none or neither nor. For example, none of them was or were present. Number second, neither he or his wife, neither he nor his wife has or have turned up. Grammatically speaking, both the auxiliaries are equally acceptable. Sometimes the two nouns are linked to one as one singular subject, particularly in the idiomatic expression. Example, bread and butter is a problem with him. It is notional concord. So, dear learners, with this, now we will move towards the comprehension questions and practice exercises. Dear learners, I would like to request you all, if you are able to answer these questions, then we are sure that you have understood whatever we have discussed, taught in this e-lecture. But if you feel some doubt and don't have any confidence whether I can answer these questions or practice these questions without watching this video, then I request you all to watch this video again and again till all your doubts get clear. So, dear learners, this is for you, for your practice. Question number one: what is a simple sentence? You have to give the definition. What do you understand by the term transform? Distinguish between affirmative and negative sentences. What are the four types of negative sentences? Illustrate each type with examples. It is incredible that he doesn't know it. Comment on the negation in the sentence. What are the different types of questions? Illustrate with examples. What are the different uses, meanings of imperative sentences? Give examples. Differentiate between an exclamative sentence and an interrogative sentence. Point out the difference between an active and passive sentence. What is Concord? What are the three types of Concord? Illustrate. Choose the correct verb or verbs in the following sentences. Also give reasons for your choice. Life and death is or are a constant theme in poetry. Crime and punishment is or are Dostoevsky's classic in fiction. Every one of us has or have his or her own choice to make. The public is or are demanding a right to employment. Neither Gopal nor Govind has or have cared for me. None but the brave deserve or deserves the fair. Slow and steady win or wins the race. Electronics as well as computer science is or are taught in my college. I invited both the husband and the wife. Neither has or have turned up. The data is or are not available. Dear learners, if you have any suggestions or questions, doubts, queries, I request you all feel free to ask or mail me. Ask in the comment box, chat box, or mail me the email ID I have given you in the description box below so that you can mail me directly and I will try my level best to answer your queries. With this, I would like to thank you one and all for sparing your valuable time. Thank you.